Hey IQers, Jonathan Levinson here with your daily Excel tip. So in this session, we're going to do kind of an introduction to pivot tables. So many of you might not even know what a pivot table is, but it's a really quick way to summarize your data and then gives you really some flexibility to manipulate and add in additional calculations. So normally I script this stuff out. In this case, there's lots to talk about, so I'm just gonna kind of go and kind of hopefully keep you guys on track. So again, we're going to be looking at our data. So we have our sales orders worksheet open. Again, I always recommend using tables. You've probably seen it in my sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this as a table. It actually works in your favor, especially when using data off of a use a pivot table off of that data that's in a table, because as you add records, it will automatically update the source, and I'll go a little bit more into detail. So now we have our table. So right inside the table, as long as I'm clicked somewhere inside, I'm going to go up to Insert, and I'm going to click on Pivot Table. So the first thing you're going to do, it's going to choose that full table. Typically, if you didn't have it in the table and it was a data range, you would see from A1 to whatever that range may be. And we're going to go ahead and enter this into a new worksheet, but you have the ability to add it to an existing one. So you're going to get to something like this. So there's a couple options where you could change the way that things are being looked over here. But what you could see is we have all of our fields, we have our filters, our columns, our rows, and our values. So as you could see, I could just start grabbing specific things. So I'm going to say, you know what? I want to see my order dates on columns. You'll notice it automatically recognized it as a date and even broke it down to the year, the quarter, and even down to that specific date. Let's say we wanted to look at our regions, so I'm going to grab that and drag it into our rows, and then I'm going to go ahead and look at my total right here. And what you could see is it broke it down easily by the various regions. It also gave me the ability to drill into quarters, and even down to months. Let's say I didn't want the quarters, I can literally just drag it out, and now I have just my years and then my various months. When it comes to formatting, most people, right, you click on the cells, or you click on whatever you want, and you say, I want that to be currency. Problem is, nothing else follows that formatting when you are using pivot tables. So what you want to do is you actually want to go down to the values area. You can see it says sum of total. And we click on that little arrow and we go to the value field settings. And we have the ability to rename it as well. So if you're like me, I like having most of my headers are usually pretty accurate. The thing is, if you remove the sum of and you try to hit OK, it says it already exists. So a little trick is just put a space in there. And then we can get down to our number format. And now from here, we can go ahead and hit on our currency. And you'll notice now all my values are in the correct format. So the next thing that we can talk about is the visual aspect of this. So if you click within the pivot table, you can go up to the design and you can actually pick and choose on how or what theme you would like it to be. Some things are easier read than others, depending on the type of data. If we go back, we're looking at just the different regions, but the cool part is, right, I can even get down to the reps. So I can take that and drag it down by region. And now I'm going to get it broken down by our region that rolls up with all the reps that are included within that region. Maybe we want to see the various items that are being sold too. So we can go ahead, put in item, but let's say I don't really care about the rep. I just want to see it by item. Well, now I get to see it by region or item, or I can yank out my region and I could just look at it via my item itself. So lots of flexibility here when it comes to theming out your and building out your pivot table. So what I was talking about earlier about data is once you have your stuff inside of a table, if you were to copy or paste or you know, put in more information, you'll notice it automatically adds it within the table. So I'm just going to make up some stuff here. Get this pencil. This is 30. This is 9.99. I already have my calculation being done. So when I go back to my sheet, I can right click and actually click on refresh. And what you'll see is now we have that 2020 data that I just entered. If you're not using a table, you literally would have to enter the data, come up, go to the analyze, and go and change the data source. Because again, now this is correct. It's all tied to a table. But again, if you're using a range, you'll have to update the range. So again, highly recommend utilizing tables versus a range when utilizing pivot tables. So if we wanted to see additional aggregation, right? Like maybe we want to see the average it as well as the sales, right? So what we can do is actually take that total field again, drag it under values, go into those value field settings and change that type of aggregation. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do average. I'm going to rename it and just say average sales. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And let's see if we can find a good number. So here's our July sales, and here's our average sales based on binders. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. Other things, I'm going to go ahead and pull out these values and let's just look at units, right? Like how many units did we sell? So go ahead and drag that down, or you can just click on it. So now we can see the breakdown of how many units are in there. You can see there's some formatting issues, not sure what's going on. So let's just go ahead and do our number format, make sure that's just a number with no decimals. And that should clean up all this stuff. Okay. So now that we have this, maybe we want to see a changeover percentage, right? So what if we took the units again and we dropped it into our value? It's called sum of units too, but we're going to go into our value field settings, and what you'll notice is you have another tab. So we have show value as. So what you can do is you have all these other functions where you can do a percentage of the grand total, the column, you could do it from the parent, the running total, the rank. There are tons of different options here. So if we just look at let's just do the percent of grand total here. I'm going to go ahead and say percent total. Go ahead and hit OK. And what you could see is, binder was 2.322 percentage of the total gross sum of units. So gives you lots of different flexibility to utilize those various functions. We'll go, this is the grand, but let's say we choose it at the column total, right? This makes up 34.48% of the total units sold for binders. So again, different options. You can play around with them. There's tons of information available online. I think this is where I'm going to cut it off. I feel like it's going to get a little heavy now. Next part, we're going to talk about creating custom calculations, and we'll do some additional formatting and maybe even, I don't know, we'll come up with some stuff. Hope you guys have a great day. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.